Tired of replanting your garden every year, only to be disappointed by meager harvests? Imagine a plant that practically grows itself, enriches your soil, and provides delicious food year after year. Discover the perennial powerhouse that's about to revolutionize your garden and your plate. No green thumb required. Beyond the usual, why you haven't planted this yet. Sunchokes, also known as Jerusalem artichokes despite being neither from Jerusalem nor related to artichokes, represent one of gardening's best-kept secrets. This North American native has been quietly feeding people for centuries, while mainstream gardening culture obsesses over finicky annuals that demand constant attention. The sunchoke's relative obscurity stems partly from unfair historical reputation and partly from the gardening industry's preference for promoting plants that require annual seed purchases. Once you understand what sunchokes offer, you'll wonder why they're not growing in every available corner of your property. These towering sunflower relatives produce knobby, nutrient-dense tubers underground, while their above-ground growth creates stunning 8 to 10 foot privacy screens, covered in cheerful yellow blooms. Unlike virtually every other food crop you're growing, sunchokes require almost nothing from you after the initial planting. They don't need fertilizing, they laugh at drought, pests generally ignore them, and they return year after year with increasing abundance. For gardeners exhausted by the treadmill of annual planting, weeding, and disappointing yields, sunchokes offer a genuinely different approach that prioritizes resilience and self-sufficiency over control and constant intervention. Sunchokes, your garden's undemanding powerhouse. The practical advantages of sunchokes become apparent the moment you plant your first tubers. These plants tolerate virtually any soil condition, from heavy clay to sandy loam, though they'll produce more abundantly in reasonably fertile ground. Once established, their deep root systems access water and nutrients far below the surface, making them exceptionally drought-tolerant even during extended dry spells that leave your annual vegetables wilting. This deep rooting also means sunchokes actively improve soil structure over time, breaking up compacted layers and creating channels that benefit everything planted nearby. Pest and disease resistance represents another major advantage that sets sunchokes apart from conventional garden crops. While your tomatoes attract hornworms and your squash battles vine borers, sunchokes grow vigorously with virtually no pest pressure worth mentioning. Deer occasionally browse the foliage but rarely cause significant damage, and most insect pests simply aren't interested. This natural resilience means you can grow genuinely organic food without the constant vigilance and intervention required by more delicate crops. For beginners especially, sunchokes provide early success that builds confidence and enthusiasm for expanding food production. The nutritional profile of sunchoke tubers deserves serious attention from anyone interested in health and food security. These tubers are rich in inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria and supports digestive health. Unlike potatoes, which are primarily starch, sunchokes contain minimal starch and have a significantly lower glycemic impact, making them suitable for people managing blood sugar issues. They're also packed with potassium, iron, and thiamine, delivering genuine nutrition rather than empty calories. The flavor profile is mild and slightly sweet with nutty undertones, making sunchokes incredibly versatile in the kitchen from raw applications to various cooking methods. Planting for success starts with getting going this fall. Late fall through early winter is, honestly, the ideal planting window for sunchokes in most climates, which makes right now, in late November, absolutely perfect timing. Planting during dormancy lets tubers establish root systems before spring growth begins, and that leads to more vigorous plants and, larger harvests. It's important to source your planting stock from reputable garden suppliers, farmers markets, or even fellow gardeners, rather than grocery stores. Since commercial sunchokes are sometimes treated to prevent sprouting, you'll actually need surprisingly little to get started, since each tuber planted will multiply into, 10 to 20 tubers by harvest time. Choose a location that gets full sun for at least 6 hours a day, though sunchokes will tolerate partial shade, with, reduced yields. consider placement carefully because sunchokes are genuinely permanent plantings that'll occupy the same spot for years, or even decades. Many gardeners plant them along property lines where their height creates natural privacy screens, or in areas where their spreading tendency won't interfere with annual vegetable beds. Alright, so to get started, you'll want to prepare your planting area by loosening the soil to about 8 inches deep. Be sure to remove any perennial weeds that might compete with your young plants. Then, space your tubers 12 to 18 inches apart in rows or blocks, and plant them about 4 to 6 inches deep, with the knobby side facing upward. If your tubers have obvious growth buds or eyes, kind of like potato eyes, make sure you orient these upward. After planting, go ahead and water the area thoroughly. Then, honestly, you can largely forget about them until spring. Now, container growing is absolutely possible for gardeners with limited space, though you'll need some pretty substantial containers to accommodate Sunchoke's vigorous root system. Choose containers that are at least 20 gallons in volume and 18 inches deep, and be sure to use a quality potting mix enriched with compost. Container-grown sunchokes do require more consistent watering than those grown in the ground, since pots dry out faster, but they still demand far less attention than most containerized annuals. Harvesting and, enjoying your bountiful crop of sunchokes is a real treat. Sunchoke harvesting usually starts after the first hard frost knocks back the above-ground foliage, which is typically sometime from November through March, depending on your local climate. The interesting thing is, the frost actually improves tuber flavor by converting some of the inulin to fructose, so you get sweeter, more palatable tubers. Just cut down the dead stalks to ground level, then carefully dig around the plant base with a garden fork, working outward in a circle. This helps you avoid spearing any of those precious tubers. The beauty of sunchokes as a storage crop is that, honestly, they store best right where they grew, in the ground. Unlike potatoes, which need careful curing and cool, dark storage, sunchokes just hang out in the soil until you need them. Only harvest what you'll use within a few days, leaving the rest to dig fresh as needed all winter long. This living storage system means you're always eating the freshest possible produce, without having to worry about storage rot or sprouting. Kitchen versatility really makes sunchokes exciting for food-focused gardeners. Just scrub the tubers thoroughly, but don't peel them since the thin skin has a lot of concentrated nutrients and flavor. You can slice them paper thin on a mandolin and toss with lemon juice and olive oil for a crispy, refreshing slaw that, honestly, rivals any jicama preparation. Try roasting chunks with root vegetables, where they develop deep caramelization and complex sweetness. Or simmer them in soups where they add body and a silky texture when pureed. And hey, you can even make crispy chips by slicing thin, tossing with oil and salt, then roasting at 400 degrees until golden. So, the key to avoiding digestive discomfort that, gives sunchokes their unfortunate reputation, is to start with small portions. This lets your gut bacteria adjust to the inulin content, and then you can gradually increase the amounts as your system adapts. Sunchokes forever, building perennial abundance. The self-propagating nature of sunchokes creates increasing abundance with each passing year if you manage the planting thoughtfully. Any tubers left in the ground when harvesting will regenerate into new plants the following spring, naturally expanding your planting area. This characteristic allows you to establish sunchokes once, then harvest portions of the planting each year while leaving sections to regenerate. Some gardeners establish permanent sunchoke beds that provide reliable harvests for decades with absolutely zero replanting effort. For gardeners concerned about spreading, it's best to establish clear boundaries using deep edging or, plant in areas where spreading is actually beneficial, such as unused corners slopes that are prone to erosion or spots you want to reclaim from invasive species. The dense growth and extensive root systems make sunchokes excellent for stabilizing soil and outcompeting problem plants. Alternatively, you can harvest your entire planting each year by digging thoroughly, then just replant only the quantity you want for the next season in your desired location. This approach gives you complete control while still letting you enjoy the benefits of perennial production. The broader implications of perennial food crops like sunchokes, well, they extend beyond individual gardens into community resilience and environmental sustainability. Perennials require no annual tillage, which reduces soil carbon loss and erosion while building organic matter and soil life. They need minimal inputs, which reduces dependency on external fertilizers and amendments. Most importantly, they create reliable food supplies that aren't vulnerable to seed shortages, supply chain disruptions, or planting season weather disasters. A neighborhood where multiple gardeners grow perennial crops creates genuine food security that annual vegetables alone cannot provide. Start your sunchoke journey today. This November presents a perfect opportunity to establish sunchokes that will feed you for years to come. Order tubers from suppliers or reach out to local gardening groups where someone will gladly share from their abundance. Even dedicating a small corner of your property to this experiment in perennial food production can make a real difference. Next autumn, you'll be harvesting pounds of nutritious tubers from that single afternoon's planting effort, and honestly, every year after that, the harvest just keeps increasing while your effort stays minimal. Ready to discover more perennial powerhouses and soil-building secrets that help create truly sustainable gardens? Well, go ahead and subscribe to the Living Soil Lab for weekly wisdom on growing food that works with nature, not against it. And hey, share this guide with fellow gardeners who could really use a heads up about the low-maintenance, high-reward potential of edible perennials. Your journey toward genuinely resilient food production, it all starts with a single tuber planted today.